welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Today's Youth. And today we have the pleasure to be joined by Ingy Ghannam. She's a student at the American University in Cairo. She's graduating this semester and she's majoring in communication and media arts. She will tell us more about her years of education at the American University and the several activities that she has been performing during the years of education. Thank you very much for joining us, Ingy.
Thank you for having me.
Ingy, tell me first, why did you choose communications and media arts as your major field of study?
Well, I knew that I wanted to come to AUC, and I was looking through all of the list of majors that they have, and it stuck out to me as the most interesting. I saw that there was a lot of practical field work, and it was something that really stood out to me, and I was really interested in it because I had never had the chance to study it before in school. So as soon as I saw it and I compared it with all of my other options, I knew that that was the one that I would be the most passionate about.
Yeah, and what are you planning for your career out of this major?
Well, initially I actually took a course in university that was called studio production, and it was essentially just learning how working in a studio goes both on air and in the actual controls. And when I took that course, I realized that that was something I would really love to do. And so my hope is to start getting into TV or anchoring or broadcast. That would be something that I would really love to get into.
Yeah, sure. All the best of luck, of course. You also minoring in psychology.
Yes, correct.
Why did you choose psychology in specific?
Well, in school I was an IB, and I decided to take psychology. And it was the most interesting course I'd ever taken in my life, and it was the only thing in school that I actually looked forward to.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so interesting to learn how human nature works and how we think and how we act around each other and the reasons why we do the things we do. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to university, I originally planned to double major, but I felt like it might be a bit too much. So I decided to minor in psychology to still keep that interest, that thing that I love very much in my life.
Yes. Of course, during university years, you were engaged in several activities as usual. I understand you were also engaged in volunteer work.
Yes.
Tell me more about your volunteer activities.
So in my first semester in the fair in university, there was a fair for all of the clubs. I saw a club called Mashroua Khair, and I was really interested in it. I talked to a few of the people already in the club working there, and they told me there was a program called School Up, which essentially has students volunteer and go to different schools or orphanages to just really help out the kids there, to plan activities for them, play with them, teach them new things. Mm-hmm. And I've always loved children and being involved with children, and so I went for it. And I stuck with that club for the majority of my university years. I visited several orphanages and just went to plan new activities for the kids every week. And it was honestly one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Just seeing the kids be so happy and feel really loved and cared for was one of the best things that I could ask for.
Mm-hmm. Were you ever engaged in community service during your school years?
Yes, I was. Part of my IB program was also to be involved in community service. So I had done several volunteer opportunities in school as well, which involved being an assistant for teachers or volunteering in school activities. So it was something that I definitely knew I wanted to do and carry on with in university as well.
Right. One of your greatest passions is creating awareness on mental health.
Yes.
Would you tell us what you think about mental health? How are you working on creating awareness in this regard?
Well, originally the way I started was for my graduation project. And we were told to essentially just create an awareness campaign for something that was a pressing issue in Egyptian society. And the first thing that came to my mind was male mental health. That was the thing that stuck out to me the most. I remember, like, throughout my life, just seeing a lot of men that I love and I cherish really suffer because of something that I don't think should even exist. I'm quite an emotional person, and I've struggled a lot with my mental health throughout my life, so I know how difficult it is. And I can't imagine having someone tell me that I can't speak about my feelings, or I can't cry, or I can't go seek help from a professional. And as a kid, I never understood why it was okay for girls to cry but not boys. And it was something that I'd always been quite passionate about. And so when I got the opportunity, I knew that that was what I wanted to go for. And I spoke to my group members, and we all agreed that mental health is just like any other physical health issue. There's no shame in seeing a professional or a doctor. You know, we don't shame people for going to the doctor if they have a broken arm. So there should be no reason to do that for mental health either. It's all the same.
And throughout this study, what did you come out with? How can people overcome such issues that you have just explained regarding mental health?
I think the most important thing is really just trying to shift people's mind frames. I think what the issue is really is that there are so many generations that were brought up with this idea that seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist is something shameful. And when we're not challenged, we really can never change our views. And so my goal and my group members' goals were really to just try to challenge people, to show them a different perspective, and to hopefully change their minds. And one of the biggest things we pushed is that, you know, we're never alone. People are never alone. A lot more people are going through the same thing as you are than you would ever imagine. And so we really hope to just encourage people to really support the people around them and let them know that we're there for them and there's no shame in these things. Especially for men, it's really important that we as individuals really support the men in our lives to be okay with speaking about their feelings and seeking help. And that was really the message we wanted to push.
And how did you work on raising awareness on this issue?
So essentially, we wanted to create posts on Instagram. That was our main platform, because we knew that most people that are in our target audience use that platform the most. And the way we went about it was just to really make people understand the height of the issue. So we shared a lot of statistics, we shared a lot of information about suicide rates, the majority of which are committed by men. And you know, the ideas of shame that are surrounding mental health. There are a lot of studies that exist, but unfortunately not in Egyptian society. So we really wanted to just show people that this is something that is a big issue, and that if anyone was looking at these posts and seeing them, to understand that nothing about how they feel is shameful, and that it's okay, their feelings are valid. And yeah, we just really wanted to create posts that would support people and let them know that even if they would like to reach out to us, that we're always available.
Do you think people around the world in different countries face the same type of issues with regards to mental health?
I think there's always been stigma around this topic, especially once again with men. And there are some countries that are starting to move more towards acceptance and really supporting the struggles of people that have mental health issues and helping them seek help. But I think in majority of Arab countries, this is still an issue that is very prevalent, and it's really tied to culture and the stereotypes that exist around how a man should be, and that being emotional isn't manly. So it's really about shifting that idea of what being a man means that will help us move forward.
Right. You lived in one country all your life, then you moved to Egypt at university to go to university. I mean, this shift or transition in culture, you lived in one country and then you moved at the age of 18, around the age of 18, to your home country. How did this transition affect you and how did you adapt?
So yes, I lived in Saudi Arabia for from the age of 5 up until the age of 18, and I came back here for university. It was something that I always wanted to do. I really wanted to come back to my home country and live here for a while. It was definitely a very different environment because I grew up in an area of Saudi Arabia that was all expats. So I was around people of all different cultures from countries that I didn't even know existed when I first moved there. And I'm really grateful for that upbringing because I think it has made me a really tolerant person, a really understanding person. And having people around me from so many different cultures really helped me be accepting of everyone and really open-minded. And I wanted to take that with me here and to keep that going. And I know that it was quite a shock to me to come back here into an environment that was so different from what I grew up with. And I really did struggle for quite a bit. I felt I was very out of my element. But I really tried to just take those things that I learned from my upbringing and from the area that I grew up in and to just kind of use them to guide me to be the person that I want to be here.
Yeah, and you definitely faced a lot of problems and obstacles throughout this kind of transition and adapting once again to your own home country and your culture. Tell me, how do you work on your on overcoming obstacles and continuing and going ahead? I mean, what would you like to tell youth about persistence and perseverance and ways to face obstacles?
I think it's very, very important to have faith in yourself. That's one of the biggest things that I wish I could tell my younger self, is that it's always so important to just have confidence and understand that as long as you're doing what you know is right and you're not hurting anyone, that you're being a good person, then you're doing the right thing, you're on the right path. And it's really also important to understand that everybody is on a different timeline. I think sometimes we all feel very pressured to be on the same timeline as other people, and if we're not, then we feel like we're behind or we're worse off than them in a way. And I think it's really important to just understand that everybody is on their own path, everybody is on their own journey, and to just really embrace the things that come towards you, to have faith in yourself and in your choices and be confident, and also never to fear reaching out for help from your family, from your friends, to just have that trusted group of people and to constantly reach out for help because there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Talking about youth and a message from you to the youth, how do you see the significance of empowering youth, and what do you think is the role of the country towards the youth? And a lot is being done here in Egypt to empower youth. We've seen the Egyptian leadership giving great attention to the youth throughout the presidential leadership program, throughout the youth conferences that takes place here in Egypt. So how do you see the significance of empowering youth?
I think it's one of the most important things that we can do. We really do hold a lot of power as today's youth. You know, we hold a lot of power. We have a very loud and prominent voice, and it's so important that we use that to push our country to be better and to constantly progress forward and be more tolerant and kind. And I think empowering the youth to speak, to use their voice is one of the most important things we can do, because even though we are young, we do have a lot of really important and valuable opinions and thoughts to give. And it's what will progress this country further, because, you know, we're the ones that are beginning to take hold of our future now. And so it is very, very important that we continue to do that and to continue to empower each other, not just have people from older generations empowering us, but also for us to empower each other.
Yes, well, Ingy, we're just going to go to a short break and we'll be right back to continue our discussion and talk more about youth gatherings and youth conferences. back, and once again with my guest here at the studio, Ingy. Ingy, we were talking about, of course, youth, and you mentioned something very important, that you were raised in a culture where you were meeting youth from different cultures and people from different cultures, and that this affected you positively. Well, tell me, how do you see the significance of the youth gatherings that are taking place here in Egypt, like youth conferences and youth forums, gathering youth from all over the world here in Egypt? What's the impact of this on the youth in meeting different cultures, youth from other cultures, creating a bond with youth from other countries and mingling with them? How important is this?
I think, honestly, having these conferences is one of the best decisions this country could have made. I know from personal experience that growing up around people that are nothing like me is so important, because not only does it build tolerance and acceptance of other people, but it also challenges you and your views of the world. So I think, first of all, having tolerance for other people is one of the most important things. And when we're not surrounded by people that are different than us or look different than us, it's very easy to fall into the trap of being intolerant towards other people, or to have negative stereotypes of other people, which is I think has a very negative impact on everybody's lives and only brings us back. And additionally, I think having that challenging view of the world and really having people come in with different points of view to challenge you is really what builds a strong character. It's so important that we constantly get our thoughts and views challenged, and to build that, our beliefs and our thoughts based around that.
Yeah, what's the role of the youth towards their countries in this regard, talking about what's being done for the youth here in Egypt and all the activities that has been taking place, like the Presidential Leadership Program and also youth conferences, as we've just mentioned. We would like to talk also about what's the role of youth towards their countries, in your opinion.
I think it's very important that we really work on progressing forward. Seeing as now we're the ones that are stepping up into this specific generation, now we're the ones that are stepping up and taking hold of a lot of more positions of power, and you know, we're beginning to work, we're beginning to really have an impact on the way our society functions. I think it's very important that we understand the power that we have, and to understand just how much impact we have on our country, and to really just always have its best interest in mind, because if nobody else does that, then nothing will move forward. It has to be us. We have to take these steps, and we have to keep going forward.
Right. Well, Ingy, you're graduating senior this semester. So tell me, what are your short-term plans and your long-term plans also?
Well, considering my short-term plans, I am currently applying for different jobs. I'm hoping to work in content creation in general. But as of long term, I really would like to have a place in broadcast and media, and to just really work on spreading messages that I think are powerful, that are impactful, that are important, and especially in terms of the scope of mental health. I think that's one of the things that I know that I'm very passionate about, and I would really like to keep moving forward, to really keep challenging people, and to help us move forward in making it more acceptable and more understood why, you know, how our mental health works, to really have that knowledge and to feel okay seeking help from professionals.
Ingy, you're so determined, that as far as I see. So where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
I really hope that 10 years from now I'm in a position, in a job that I'm very happy with personally. I think my happiness and my place in life is one of the most important things to me. I just want to be somewhere where I know I'm doing the right thing. It really doesn't matter to me much about money or a specific lifestyle, but I want to be doing something that I know is right, that is impactful. And I hope to be working in broadcast and in psychology as well. I think they go really hand in hand, and I think that having these two ideas working together is very, very powerful.
And who's your role model in this field?
In the field, I think there's so many people that I really do look up to.
Locally or internationally, I mean,
there's not really one specific role model in the field, but my role models are definitely my parents in everything that they do. I think they're exemplary people. They're so kind, they're so caring, they're giving, they're generous. And I really hope to just spread that level of love and kindness that they have given me to everybody else, because they've always taught me that that's the most important thing, and that's what I hope to spread on.
And who was the first one who gave you support in your entire life? I mean, number one, support.
Definitely my dad and my mom. Especially my father has always been very supportive of my goals and my dreams. I took a very non-traditional route compared to my siblings, and it was something that I was very scared to do, because I knew that breaking into this field is quite difficult. It can be challenging, and it can take a very long time.
Yeah.
And I knew that they all had worries about, me making a living and really beginning practical work. But my dad has always been very supportive of me and telling me that he knows that I can do whatever I set my mind to. And having that level of support in my life has really made me more determined than I could ever imagine, and has pushed me more towards working towards the thing that I would love.
Your siblings are more into medicine and engineering?
Yes, both of my siblings are engineers.
Right, okay. Finally, Ingy, what's the message that you would like to deliver to the youth from your place here?
I think just the one thing that I would love to tell people is to never underestimate the power that your kindness can have on other people. I think sometimes we don't realize how much just a nice word or a smile or anything that's kind that we do can affect somebody, and vice versa. If we say something that's harmful, that we don't even think is that harmful, it can have such a difficult and terrible impact on people. So if I would like to tell people to do one thing, is to just be kind and be good to the people around you and support those around you, even if they're not your friends. Just be there for people.
Well, I would like to thank you very much, Ingy Ghannam, a graduating senior student at the American University in Cairo. All the best of luck, and many thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of today's Youth. Many thanks for watching, and don't forget to join us next week, same time. Till then, it's goodbye.